Hello and welcome. I'm Natalie, and this is Scientology Life After a Cult. Today, we are going to get into some stuff, you guys. We're going to talk about, we're going to take a look at what Leah Remini said about Tom Cruise and Scientology and what that has to do with Scientology inspiring satanic cults. I mean, it is Friday the 13th. I just feel like it's very appropriate. We're also going to take a look at some leaked documents that show the insidious nature of Scientology's Office of Special Affairs. So we got to remember to wake them up early today. We're going to talk about what they don't want what they don't want people to know. We're going to look at how Scientologists, Real Housewives of New York cast member, Real Housewives of New York. Sounds funny today. Rebecca Minkoff, you guys, she's not allowed to attend the Met Gala, and we're going to talk about why. And you know what else I want to talk about today, which I think I'll leave it for the end? Can we talk about these drones over New Jersey? We're going to talk about that at the end. So if you're into that, stay tuned. But for now, let's jump into some Scientology shenanigans. Hello, moderators. Thank you for being here. Hello to members. I appreciate your support, and everybody in the live chat. Remember, it is Aloha Friday. So despite it being Friday the 13th, we got to probably do a combination of actually being it's Friday the 13th. We might need even more aloha today. So aloha, everybody in the chat. Let's throw out hearts. Let's throw out flowers. Let's greet everybody. Let's get this stuff going here. So first, we're going to take a look at something that is really cute and funny. I love the creativity. T per Scientology Audit has a music video out over on her channel. Let's take a look at just a little clip from this. Now, what I love is she is in Australia, and I'm not tracking with a lot about what this means. I'm hoping you guys can tell me. What is a grog? And if you don't know, the 2D is Scientology's second dynamic. So basically like sex, family, children, and all that. So if you have the 2D blues, maybe it's because you want a partner and you don't have a partner. Very fun video. I'm going to link that and all the articles and clips we're going to look at after this video. I'm going to put them in the description so you all can go check it out. But that was a really fun one, wasn't it? Hey, me and Taz, I'm glad that you're here. Aloha, everybody. Aloha, Chantel. And thank all of you for throwing in flowers, hearts, and aloha into the chat. I love it so much. Lisa Pete, Mark Habs in drones over New Jersey. We're going to talk about it. But at the end. Okay, now, I don't know how many of you saw this, but this is just something really cute. John Travolta looks like this rescue dog, or this rescue dog looks like John Travolta is more accurate. A bunch of you sent this clip to me. Check it out.
Let's stick to the silver screen, taking a look at another leading man. In 2015, South Australia's dog rescue uploaded a picture of an American bulldog with the dazzling blue eyes of a...
Those are some serious blue eyes. I mean, they really are. When dogs have those eyes, it's really stunning.
Movie star and the distinctive face of John Travolta.
Look at that. Now, this one is where I think it really looks more like him, that looks more like John Travolta. So when this was shared, it did help get the dog rescued as far as I know. So I think, hey, if that's something that brings attention to rescues, dogs that look like celebrities, it's hilarious. There's a whole bunch of other dogs and a whole bunch of other celebrities. So if you like dogs who look like people, it's a fun video to check out. Hey, MD Media 18, good morning to you. Anonymous Lens, I see you there. Welcome. Hey, Kayla. That's aloha, Natalie, chat, and mods. Hope everyone is having a happy Friday so far. Absolutely. Okay, now let's go look at a little Dan Walks LA. Dan Walks LA was doing what he does, walk in LA. He was in Hollywood, and he was at the Applied Scholastic Center, which is Scientology's front group, their tutoring center. Bring your kids. Nothing weird there. And we are going to help them with Scientology study technology. The interesting thing is, though, it seems like almost nobody's ever there. You would think that at least maybe Scientologists would avail themselves and their children of these services, but it doesn't seem to be the case. It seems to be very empty all the time. And Dan Walks LA was out there having a conversation with the two people who seem to be there most. Let's take a look.
Hi there, how are you? Saw you at Blue the other night. You look beautiful. If you ever need to leave Scientology, there are resources to help you. There's the Aftermath Foundation, the SPTV Foundation. You two can go live your lives free of Scientology for whatever remaining years you have left.
If I had to guess, these are two, what we see so often is elderly Scientologists who've been around for a long time and are, I think, in many ways going to be the last to leave because they have so much invested in terms of time and money and their life. They just do not look like happy people. This is really sad. What we're seeing, even when people are elderly in the Sea organization, they're still not leaving, but a lot of times they don't have resources. Many of them don't have bank accounts. They've lost touch with their family. It is very sad. And those are the people that, you hope to reach, especially with news like that. Hey, there's help for you if you're leaving Scientology and the Sea organization, especially when you may not have a license, you may not have a bank account, nowhere to go, that places like the SPTV Foundation can help. Those two, I do not believe are Sea Org members. I think they're regular Scientology public who are probably running that Applied Scholastics Center there. So hopefully they go home to their home and it's a little bit different. Now let's take a look at a little JD delay because he was talking about Ashton Kutcher and how Ashton Kutcher might have some worries and concern about some stuff that's about to come out. And he also mentions Danny Masterson and the tie of all of that together. We don't want to forget those ties. So let's take a look at this clip here.
Kutcher is scared Diddy might make false claims about him and other famous friends in order to clear his name, an insider said. The actor has been close friends with Diddy for nearly 2 decades. And
what's funny is when I was watching this, when I was first watching it, I was like yelling at my screen. And then JD Delay made the exact same comment that I did. And I think a lot of you might be thinking about this as well. Listen to this.
Was even pictured at the infamous white parties. But now Kutcher reportedly regrets his friendship with the disgraced music mogul.
I believe every single word of that statement except for one word, the word false. False accusations? Probably not. Right here is what we call preemptive damage control. I feel like Ashton knows exactly what's about to come out about the things that he's been doing, and he...
Exactly. Would you guys agree? Tell me what you think, because that's true. It was like false. He's worried that Ashton Kutcher is worried that false stories are going to come out from the whole Diddy camp, right? But false, really? Do we think so? Considering who he has spent time with, it seems that, he's just surrounded by people involved in these nefarious activities. Let's finish that clip.
He's scared out of his mind. Your best friend for decades is a convicted hard artist. And
that would be Danny Masterson. Exactly. His best friend of a long time. I just find it hard to believe that he didn't know what Danny Masterson was doing. And now it's going to get interesting. It really is. Jolie, yeah, they were besties. Enough besties for him to, write that letter to the judge saying, please show leniency on my friend who, what bothered me the most about those letters that Ashton Kutcher and others wrote to the judge on behalf of Danny Masterson to ask for a more lenient sentence. It was a couple things. It was a lot of things. But one thing that really stood out to me is when they talked about how he's just not into drugs. He doesn't use drugs. He's always like, help me not do drugs. He got convicted of drugging women and SAing them. Is that not drugs? Does that not count as drugs? I can't think of it. It would be better if he introduced you to cannabis or something like that. I'm just saying, I just don't understand that and putting it in writing because it lacks so much logic. Powerless to paralyze, Ashton punked himself. Yes, that's the thing. I think that's exactly what he's doing. S. Kutcher says, sorry, Ashton, but if you sleep with dogs, you wake up with fleas. Take your medicine, boy. Yes, I agree. I agree. Choctaw. You can tell a person by the people they associate with. Yeah, long time too. Very long time. Timiha says exactly what I was thinking. Yeah, right. I know. Same thing. Thank you, Yadira, for the reminder to hit that like and subscribe. Yeah, Mary, right? Only to drug women. That's, but otherwise say no to drugs. Say it, Foundation for a Drug-Free World. Get out those booklets. But if you're going to drug women to harm them, then that is somehow, let's overlook that. But he kept me off drugs. He encouraged me not to do drugs. Forget that, what he did. Jolie, good point. I found it interesting that Masterson was doing the same thing Diddy was, drugging and R-ing women. Well, and allegedly with Diddy, even men. Almost like he learned to do it from Diddy. Exactly. There just seems to be some close connections there, and Ashton Kutcher seems to be dipping a toe in all of these different worlds. Very suspicious. I'd be nervous too if I were him, because I'm sorry, you're not friends for that long and that close. He wasn't an acquaintance of Danny Masterson. They were super good friends. They hung out all the time. It's crazy. It's crazy. Me and Taz, I did see your email about Justin Bateman. We shared that clip yesterday. I think it was yesterday or it was the day before. I think it was yesterday, but yes, I did see your email. Thank you so much. All right, now let's take a look at why Scientologist and Real Housewives of New York cast member Rebecca Minkoff cannot go to the Met Gala, is not allowed. And the why it blew my mind. I'm like, really? Is that how things work over there in New York at the Met Gala? Is this a celebrity culture thing? But listen to this, you guys. I was like, what? That's why? Are you kidding me? Rebecca Minkoff broke one of Anna Wintour's major rules and never got a Met Gala invite. Huge mistake. Huge. So here's the deal. We don't even need to read the whole article there. So I'm not going to. I'm going to give you the gist here of what basically it says. Apparently, Rebecca Minkoff made the grave mistake of getting into an elevator with Anna Wintour, who chairs the Met Gala, who is hugely influential in New York society and fashion. Is she still the editor of Vogue? Anybody know? I don't even know currently. But that's what she did. She got on an elevator with Anna Wintour, and then now, like, no, you cannot go to the Met Gala. I mean, that gives Tom Cruise, David Miscavige vibes to me, because it's like, that reminded me of like when Tom Cruise would visit the Celebrity Center, no one could get in the elevator with him. They would like block it off, and he would just go to the floor that he goes to. It just was weird to me. Is this a celebrity culture thing? You can't get into the elevator? Cat, The Devil Wears Prada. Exactly. That's right. That's right. Inspired by Anna Wintour, the character in The Devil Wears Prada. I guess that's like Prada and an auditor. You're a proditor. Eileen says the Met Gala sounds boring and annoying. I'd turn up in a chicken suit. I would go just to see all the clothes and, see what the celebrities are doing or eating, or let's be honest, I want to know what they smell like. You ever think about that? Because we always just see people in magazines or on television or on YouTube. And I never used to wonder this, but when I used to work in radio, my co-host at the time, she would bring it up. And ever since then, now I always find myself wondering, but what do they smell like? I mean, I hear the story here, but what do they smell like? Ever since then, now, every time I read something about a celebrity or see something, I'm like, but what do they smell like? Now I'm wondering. Moving on, let's go talk about Jenna Miscavige's video that she just dropped. And it is called I Tried to Escape Scientology. And she shares one of her escape stories from when she was a child. Let's take a look at a clip from this. You guys, it is such an amazing video. She drops so much info in it.
To be honest, it was just a lot for kids to do. And it was a lot of not seeing our parents. And I guess at some point this became too much for me. Looking back, I don't know exactly what the catalyst was at the time, but looking back, I can see that the issue was basically that there was nothing I was doing during the day that I actually liked. Like, there was no play, there was no toys, there was no reading books, there was nothing fun about it at all. So we weren't allowed to watch TV, we weren't allowed to watch movies unless we got a
Remember, she's talking about when she was a child.
day off, which could only happen every other week if we got it approved through a million different people. And so there was no video games, there was no playtime. There was
no playtime. You just cannot play. There's no room for being a child, especially in the cadet org, which is where Jenna was. And she shares the story of when she tried to run away. And I remember reading about it in the book, but hearing her, I mean, my hands are sweating now just thinking about it, about how she prepared and the mindset of being a child in that situation, and what they thought too. Here's what we need to take with us to run away. Not having really much exposure at all to the world outside of Scientology or the Sea organization. Because many of us who grew up in Scientology, like I grew up in Scientology, but I grew up with parents who were not in the Sea organization. So I lived in a regular house. I went to a regular school, at least until my sophomore year, when then I dropped out to what? Join staff with Scientology, go do my duty, and then joined the Sea organization. It's an amazing story. If you guys haven't seen that video, again, I'm going to link it down below. Go check it out. Hearing Jenna Miscavige tell these stories and share these experiences, even if you read it in her book, it really hits differently. And she shares some added insight to it. It's fascinating, absolutely fascinating. And I hate that happened to her. As I listened to her, or even as I re-listened to her book on Audible, I'm always struck with, like, I just cannot believe that this went on for so long. And her story is one of many. And it really brings home the point of view that Scientology, especially the Sea organization, has when it comes to kids not being kids, just being big beings in little bodies. That's right, Bob. Oh, so are you taking notes? When should I didn't wake him up yet. What do we got coming up? Ooh, I know when we'll wake him up. We will get to it in just a minute. Timiha, I love Jenna. She is a true warrior. I completely agree, and has so much empathy. And she also has content on her channel. Like, I've been inspired to just take better care of myself and make better food for myself. Jenna just has a way of making things better. Just, elevating it. A lot of people have that ability. And I just feel like I'm kind of new to that. Like, I want to do that. Why wouldn't I make my plate of food look really appealing for me? It's just little things like that. So I get very inspired by that. Check it out, you guys. Let's see. Kutcher, as a former music teacher, I was taught that making learning a game and fun will make kids learn easier. You'd think the cult of Scientology would know that. I agree. That's so true. But again, they can't listen to experts. They have to listen to L. Ron Hubbard. And this is what L. Ron Hubbard said to do. The Peace Lady, John Travolta and Tom Cruise smell like sweat and poppers. I don't know. I did briefly have an encounter with John Travolta once, and I didn't take a big enough, I was on the stairs of the Celebrity Center and he was walking up, and I was like, oh my God, that's John Travolta. Obviously, I was a Scientologist at the time. And again, this was at the Celebrity Center in LA, where those little steps going up to the front entrance. And, he walks up the steps and he's like, hi. And I'm like, hi. And he walks by, and that was it. Now I kind of wish I'd have taken a really good sniff. Although these days you don't want to go sniffing around Celebrity Center, because they like to put a moat of manure around it to keep away live streamers and protesters, as if that's going to keep anybody away. Karen says, Jenna's childhood stories are so terribly sad. Many of them are. She also shares a couple where you really see the resilience and desire of hers and friends of hers to still try just instinctively to have a childhood. Which makes it heartbreaking, but it's also so resilient in ways. Oh my gosh, my hands are sweating again just thinking about it. It takes you on a roller coaster. If you have not read her book, Nancy, when you get a chance, can you throw a link to Jenna's book in the chat? Read it, listen to it on Audible, and definitely check out her videos if you haven't already. That's right, Lisa. Jenna is no pushover. She didn't earn the name Jencula for nothing. You know what I'm saying? And she stood up to a lot. James Steele says, Jenna is a total legend. Absolutely. Absolutely. Cajun Mama, Aloha Friday, everyone. Aloha Friday to you. It is Aloha Friday. I'm excited about it. MD Media, who thinks to stop and smell a celebrity? Well, me now. Except I've not seen any celebrities. I'll just be going around like, because that's not weird at all. What's going on over there? What's she doing? Oh, that's just Natalie smelling celebrities. So she can share it with people on her channel. Eileen says Elizabeth Moss, this is Scientologist and actress Elizabeth Moss, smells like whatever smug smells like with an aftertone of smirk. Eileen, that's hilarious. Okay, and Nancy is sharing a link to Jenna's book there. Thank you so much, Nancy. That's in the chat. Asen says, I totally forgot where I heard it, but it was something along the lines of he smells not good at all. Ooh, who was it? Who was it? I got to scroll back. Sins of Scientology. Jenna is a badass. Yeah, she is. And good to see you here, Sins. Maybe were you talking about Elizabeth Moss? I'll go catch up. I missed a lot in the chat while we're live, but I go back and try to read everything there. MD Media says Jude Law smelled like roses. Like roses. All right, now, you guys, we need to talk about something here. We need to talk about Scientology's influence in the creation of not just other cult leaders, but satanic cults. The next few series of clips that we're going to go through is going to take us on a kind of a twisty turn ride, perfect for Friday the 13th, but with a dash of aloha, because, you know, it's still Aloha Friday. There are a few things going on, few things coming up. We're going to get into this. So there is, have you guys heard of the Process Church? The Process Church? The Process Church of the Final Judgment. I just learned about this. Somebody brought it up in the chat not that long ago. And it basically, let's see, what I'm going to show you first, the clip or the Process Church. Let's talk about first what the Process Church is. So I'm going to share here a little link here. The Process Church of the Final Judgment. So it's not uncommon for Wheaton College students to explore various denominations, investigating differences in ecclesiastical policy and practice. But those who journeyed from the comfortable suburbs to the near north side of Chicago to attend the Process Church of the Final Judgment were surely surprised to hear from its black-robed ministers that God is composed of three gods: Jehovah, Lucifer, and Satan. The Process, so this, satanic group, splintered. This is where it gets interesting for me. Splintered from L. Ron Hubbard's Scientology, was founded in London in the early 1960s by Mary Ann and Robert de Grimston, who soon established chapters in major U.S. and UK cities. Charles Manson was allegedly a member of the California chapter, but this assertion has never been proven. So, no surprise here. Some Scientologists went and started this satanic cult. And we've heard this before. Scientology seems to inspire this type of thing. And are we really surprised? Let's look at L. Ron Hubbard. L. Ron Hubbard, right before publishing Dianetics, was involved with Jack Parsons, following Aleister Crowley, and trying to bring about the Antichrist in his sex cult. So it's not so surprising. It will be very surprising to anyone who might come across this in Scientology, because this, again, is not something that Scientologists are exposed to. But Scientology, and this is kind of what I want to get into, what I want to hear from you guys about. Why do we think, and I'm really glad that Power Lies to Paralyze is here too. What is it about Scientology that inspires satanic cults, other cults? Think about that. Tell me in the live chat. I'm going to keep going, but we're going to go back and look at some comments. Nancy, if you can help me star some of those. Why do you think? What is it about Scientology that seems to inspire satanic cults and other cults? And if you're on the replay, please jump in those comments and tell me. So let's look at a little clip from a video. This is from Camp Gainin, I think is how you pronounce it. A new NYPD cop uncovers satanic cult and more stories. Again, this has to do with the process and the connection to Scientology. Listen to this.
Well, the head of that
crime.
the guy who kind of created that cult,
And that's the NYPD guy right there.
Process Church, he actually lived in Staten Island for a while, up until recently.
The guy that created it?
The guy that created the cult. He was originally partners with, originally he was a disciple of L. Ron Hubbard.
What? The guy that invented Scientology?
Yeah. So this guy's name is.
Yes, right off the bat, right? Again, was a disciple of L. Ron Hubbard.
Is Robert de Grimson. That's not his real name. That's his name that he chose.
Robert de Grimson.
Robert de Grimson. And he was a disciple of L. Ron Hubbard.
So inspired by L. Ron Hubbard and Scientology.
And he eventually hooks up with L. Ron Hubbard's girlfriend or wife. I'm not sure. I don't think anybody knows if that was his wife in UK, in England. And he steals the wife from L. Ron Hubbard, and they branch off with a lot of philosophies of Scientology.
Now, I am not completely familiar. I know that L. Ron Hubbard ran off with Jack Parsons' girlfriend and his money. I'm not as familiar with the story of this person running off with L. Ron Hubbard's girlfriend or wife in the UK. It's not completely making sense to me, because as far as I know, I'd have to double check what year they're talking about. L. Ron Hubbard at St. Hill was married to Mary Sue Hubbard, who was his last wife, third or fourth wife. And as far as Scientologists go, his only wife. Scientology does not talk about any of L. Ron Hubbard's other former wives. I don't know why. Maybe, I don't know, because I'm over here like, hey, I got 2 ex-husbands and a baby daddy. I'm not judging it. I am judging L. Ron Hubbard on the culty stuff that he did and the harm and abuse of some of these women that he was actually had a child with or was married to. I'm going to judge that every day, all day. But why erase the history of them in Scientology and just, there's just Mary Sue Hubbard, his wife of many years. And plus too, his different children that he had with the different women as well. It's just like all's very twisted in Scientology's version of who he was with L. Ron Hubbard lore. They sure as heck are not talking about they are not talking about the people who left Scientology and went on to start other cults, especially satanic ones. I'm gonna catch up to some of your comments about that too. So now in that context too, Scientology, L. Ron Hubbard has put forth always, right, that Scientology is the only solution, even for anything. Even Tom Cruise has said, if you get into a car accident, you better hope a Scientologist is there, because they're the only ones who can really help and do anything. And I'm over here like, okay, as a former Scientologist, as someone who spent 35 years in this human trafficking cult, how does that sit with me? And I'm like, it doesn't. When I was in Scientology, there were things that didn't make sense, but we were not allowed to look at them. We weren't allowed to question them. One of those questions that I had was, okay, I understand that as a Scientologist, we're indoctrinated to believe that psychiatry is the evil that has been plaguing mankind well into like the alien days and flying spaceships and all of that, that psychiatry is responsible for the Holocaust. Yes, Scientology teaches that. All of these things. Yet when we had questions about mental health or, well, I get that there have been abuses in the field of mental health and psychiatry. There have been abuses in Scientology. It's like this is something that happens, but Scientology puts a twist on it that it's still happening. And they make Scientologists so afraid to get mental health treatment because of psychiatry, so much so that they have a whole exhibit called Psychiatry, an Industry of Death. I think you guys have seen that. Let's just take a quick look at that. This is from Scientology's own website. Citizens Commission on Human Rights traveling exhibit exposes psychiatric violations of human rights. Okay, this is a Scientology press release, and it was just recently out. So the Citizens Commission on Human Rights has toured more than 1,000 visitors through the Psychiatry, an Industry of Death exhibit in Anaheim, California, as part of its nationwide tour. So number one, Scientology is on a nationwide tour with their Psychiatry and Industry of Death exhibit. So keep an eye out for it. So basically they go, you can see all the things that they get into and they share. And the whole idea is that, psychiatry bad, Scientology good. And looking back in all of this, because at this point, you're probably like, Natalie, what does this have to do with satanic cults and everything else? Okay. Scientology, founded by a man who was involved in a satanic sex cult. Anti-psychiatry, which is, basically saying you can't seek out any form of mental health treatment. So if you're involved in these practices and it is bringing up unwanted or undesirable emotions or feelings or thoughts, or maybe you had them, maybe you had an underlying mental health issue that maybe you weren't even aware of. Now we're going to take any valid help for that away from you. So now you've stripped that away and you've made the person afraid to go get any more valid help. Like it really comes together for me now more why it would inspire, why Scientology and L. Ron Hubbard does seem to have a history of inspiring not just other cults. Remember Keith Raniere, NXVIUM, also dabbled in Scientology, the founder of Est. Yeah, dabbled in Scientology. Charles Manson. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And I think it's all part of it. Take away any valid help, provide something that's actually going to spin somebody around. Now let's take a look. I'm going to catch up on your comments here. Hold on. I want to see what you guys think about that. Let's see. Asen says, what a great inspiration. What a great inspiration. You are a part of a cruel cult? I can do one up. I will create something that is worse. Yeah, exactly. Why? Choctaw says they learn how to use people's want for a higher purpose to control their thinking. You are so right. That is exactly what they do. Completely. Powerless to paralyze. Scientology's very effective control methods are easy to reproduce and restyle. That is true. And L. Ron Hubbard really does lay out the framework for doing it. It never occurred to me, like when I was a Scientologist, like, hey, I'm just going to go start a satanic cult. Arkansas Flamingo LRH was associated with Jack Parsons, who's satanic. Heck yeah, he totally was. Mock says it's the intense layers of sadism and control that appeals to them. That makes sense. So somebody comes into Scientology, the sadistic qualities, the control that appeals to them, and then they start learning how to create a cult or other control tactics in Scientology and then create their own. That makes sense. Lisa says Scientology is a proven moneymaker. Yeah, they see that too. Jamie says they use them as an example. Absolutely. It's so all about control. It's so all about control when it comes to Scientology. And I think that's what we're seeing in these other groups, satanic groups and cult, is the same thing. L. Ron Hubbard got his inspiration somewhere. It sounds like Aleister Crowley and some other places. Let's see. Mock. Having studied the Holocaust, it definitely was a lack of psychiatry and a lot of trauma in people with, let's say, vile personalities. Absolutely. And again, that makes sense too. It's all part of the trap. It just becomes more and more. I feel like I can see it more clearly all the time as we talk about it and we put these pieces together of how people are trapped in Scientology. And from my perspective, the super sad thing are the people in Scientology who want nothing to do with satanic cults and don't know that history of Scientology. I didn't know. I can tell you 3 generations of my family did not know because we were good Scientologists. We weren't reading about those things. We weren't watching shows about that. That's how you don't find out. You were not allowed. And even if you're exposed to it, you can't talk about it with another Scientologist. You can't tell other people. If you get locked in a room as a Scientologist and you're demanded to pay all this money or you can't leave, true story, happened to multiple people, myself and my former husband included, then you can't tell people about that. Because you'll get in trouble with Scientology and you're speaking, negatively about Scientology. So you cannot tell the truth. You learn early on in Scientology that you cannot tell the truth about Scientology, but you are brainwashed into believing it's because they just won't understand. So we have to give them an acceptable truth. We have to tell them a sure story. In fact, let's take a look at a clip from Aaron at Growing Up in Scientology, where he talks about this and how basically all Scientologists need to lie.
A current Scientologist would say that the reason for the discrepancy is that current Scientologists are the only ones telling the truth, and former Scientologists are all lying. When the reality is, current Scientologists aren't allowed to tell you the truth, and only former Scientologists are. And a current Scientologist would say that the reason for the discrepancy is that
that is exactly what happens. And in Scientology, you're told it's okay. They don't call it lying. They call it an acceptable truth, being within the reality of the other person. So you can't just tell them the truth or about your experience or what happened to you. So here's my other question for you. We know that through Scientology, through L. Ron Hubbard, there have been multiple cults spawning off. My personal opinion is that Grant Cardone's 10X is a cult. That's what I think. You guys tell me what you think. One in the chat if you think 10X is a cult. Am I alone in this? One in the chat if Grant Cardone's 10X is a cult. You guys tell me. How does this relate to, look at somebody like Tom Cruise? Because there are people who said early on he was one way, and then after Scientology, he was another way, a very different way. In fact, Leah Remini, former Scientologist, Leah Remini, calls this out. Let's look at this clip from this interview that she did some time back that really talks about this when it comes to Tom Cruise and how he changed after Scientology.
Do you think he will ever leave the church?
I hope so, because people who knew Tom before he was fully brainwashed say that he was a sweet and loving person.
Can you imagine? This is the same Tom Cruise we're talking about, who used free labor of Sea Organization members who worked 24/7 for $47 a week and signed a billion-year contract. This is the same person, but I've heard this too, that before he got so into Scientology, he was a different kind of person.
And he's turned into something else, something unrecognizable to people who have known him.
Something unrecognizable to people who knew him. That I thought was very interesting and insightful, especially in the context of Scientology, inspiring cults, inspiring cult leaders. In why are there some people who go so evil with Scientology. You know what I'm saying? I'm literally processing this in real time, you guys, just so you know. That's why I really want your feedback about this. Not everybody in Scientology is that way. Is it just because that's just who they are as people, even before they got into Scientology? But again, what Leah Remini just said, Tom Cruise was once a very sweet individual and he became something else. Was it just under the surface and Scientology brought that out in him? And then the people that don't really have that, they don't turn super evil? Some of the most kindest people I've met were in Scientology. They really wanted to help people. And that desire gets hijacked by Scientology. And they're fed all kinds of propaganda to believe that they're actually doing that in Scientology, but they're not. They're not. All right, good. So it seems here like we see a lot of ones here. You guys are saying Grant Cardone's 10X. You too think is a cult. And I appreciate that. Anna Christie, I would think most people change after being indoctrinated into a cult. Yes, that is true. And I can use my own personal experience that way and even by just realizing the ways that I changed after Scientology is where it really stood out to me more that even though I wasn't a Tom Cruise level Scientologist, you know, I was nobody in the Sea organization. I was a Scientology staff member for a while in a Scientology public. But I didn't go the route of like doing some things that I would consider to be like massively evil, you know, harming other people. Definitely not intentionally. By working for Scientology, I think that's harming other people. But that wasn't my intention. I was one of those that really believed we were doing something, that we were going to save the planet. Like I remember I was raised to believe this. I was indoctrinated in it. But with some people, the same thing, it's they use that to do things to further hurt other people. David Miscavige. There's so many examples of that. So many examples, but I think it's so interesting that could that be the case with Tom Cruise? Would Tom Cruise be who he is today in terms of the negative qualities if it weren't for Scientology? Mock says, get an insecure individual and feed their ego and complacency enough, and you get a real monster. Okay. I get what you're saying. That would make sense then, how people with that tendency would really take Scientology and really try to do something even more evil with it, like starting a satanic cult. Eileen says different aspects of a personality can be stimulated or oppressed, but ultimately what isn't there already won't come out. Oh, okay. That actually helps me a lot because that's what I wasn't sure of. Do you just, you know, like that was one of my fears. I have distinct memories of sitting in my office in the Sea organization and thinking, because they were trying to get me promoted into this other position in the Sea org. I didn't want it. I knew that that road would lead straight to the rehabilitation project force for me. And I remember thinking like, no, I don't have it in me to do that. Like I felt I could learn things, right? And that I was capable. It's just, I knew the type of person you had to be for that job. You had to be a bit of an a-hole. And that wasn't me. And I didn't want to become that. And my fear that I would become that somehow the Sea Org would turn me into somebody like that is a huge reason why I left. It's just at that time, I didn't understand that it was Scientology. I thought, well, it's Scientology, but it's the Sea Org that's so intense. It's the Sea Org that, you know, has these outpoints. No, it's Scientology. It's L. Ron Hubbard. It's the teachings of L. Ron Hubbard. From my perspective, that is what I believe. It's different for different people. Mad Drop Bear, do we think that David Miscavige would be as buddy with Tom if he wasn't as popular in Hollywood? No, I would say no. You guys tell me what you think in the chat. If Tom Cruise wasn't Tom Cruise, would David Miscavige be interested in him? I don't think so. Does it matter to you? Not to me. Thank you for that Aloha Friday super sticker there. Greatest good for the greatest number overpowers right from wrong in Scientology, the ultimate justifier. You are so right. That's something said all the time. Scientology is made up. They believe that there's multiple dynamics, 8 that make up your entire life, and that you make decisions based on the greatest good for all of those. Now, on paper, you might be like, well, I mean, the concept of the greatest good, it's like that's something common. That's not limited to Scientology. No. But Scientology will manipulate you into seeing how, if it's not benefiting Scientology, it's not the greatest good, because Scientology exists for the greatest good, the greater good of mankind. So if it's not benefiting Scientology, it's not good. Well, that just violates their own policy and references and belief on this concept of the greatest good. It's BS. I see it now, but doesn't matter. You're totally right. That's a huge driving concept in Scientology. It's a huge way that they justify so much. Jolie says the good people figure out the wrongness and leave. What's left are hostages and narcissists. It does seem to be that way. It really does. Saved by Grace says Tom Cruise is also a celebrity and a millionaire and never hears the word no. You know what? Saved by Grace, that is a great point. Add to that indoctrination and being told he's never wrong. I can't imagine he'll ever leave. He's treated as a god. That's true. Why would you want to if you're in that situation and you already have maybe some narcissistic qualities or tendencies that would play into that, right? Especially after you get that big old Freedom Medal dinner plate. I wonder if he wears it around. In my fan fiction, Tom Cruise wears that around his house while sliding across the floor, doing his risky business in socks thing with his giant medal from David Miscavige, saluting pictures of L. Ron Hubbard. That's what I imagine Tom Cruise does in his free time. James Steele, why has David Miscavige never been in a Tom Cruise film? Oh, that'd be something. That would be something, wouldn't it? All right, now we need to take a look at something, you guys. We got to look at some leaked Office of Special Affairs documents, which means we need David Miscavige here to wake up his people. Office of Special Affairs, rise and shine, my lovelies. It is Friday the 13th, but it is also what? Aloha Friday. Aloha Friday. So we get lots of aloha and flowers and hearts in the chat. Osa, enjoy it. Hearts for you too. We know that you are underpaid, underfed, malnourished, and you're doing the devil's work. So, I know things are tough right now, and it's the holidays, but there is a path out of this. And we are going to talk about something. We are going to look at some documents that have been leaked. Going back to, you guys may or may not be familiar with Frank Oliver. Frank Oliver worked in the Office of Special Affairs many years ago, and his story's been out for some time. He also leaked a ton of documents. And let's just take a little look here at the purpose of the, when you talk about like the Department of Special Affairs, which is like the Office of Special Affairs in individual organizations and what they do. It handles external affairs to safeguard the org against any outside interference. This is why it would be the job of the Department of Special Affairs at an organization to deal with any protesters or live streamers. All legal, governmental, tax matters, these are all handled by this department, okay? It's valuable final product. This is the important part here. So a valuable final product in Scientology, like every job has something they produce that's a valuable final product. That's what it's called. It's like here, like if I sold books into the hands of new people would be like my valuable final product. And I would track how many books I sold, that kind of a thing. So for this department, their valuable final product is handled situations which result in the total acceptance of Scientology and its founder throughout the area. We're going to look at a couple more things, and you're going to see how heavily this Office of Special Affairs works to handle outside influences, not address anything internal. So Scientology is not being culty or doing culty things, but to actually try and get rid of the people who are sharing this. Oh my gosh, it's so dumb. So let's see. I want to scroll down. There's some things in here that like blah, 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 blah. Look at this. This is a document, a little memo from within the Office of Special Affairs. Check this out. Dear sir, here's the data on how to do this. Please save for future reference. This is basically how to pretend to be somebody to get their flight info with the airline. Have to hand the full name, home address, including zip code and phone number of the subject. What is TWA may also ask for the social security number and date of birth of the person. Call the frequent flyer number. Some airlines have special numbers to call separate from the reservation numbers. Call up and just say you want to check your frequent flyer mileage. Just starting giving your name and address as per number 1. If asked for the frequent flyer number, just say you don't have it right now. I found only one airline that could not enter the data on a computer without the frequent flyer number, and that was Continental. Ask for the total mileage you have and ask for the most recent trip they have on record for you. Scientology's Office of Special Affairs. Now, this was back in the day. They still do this today. But now there's more technology and things for them to use. They've also over the years used people who are, Scientologists and travel agents and have access and can look up flight information. Many people who have spoken out about Scientology have often wondered, how did Scientology get my flight information? How'd they know that I went to this state when I told no one to interview someone? This is what they've done for years. They commit fraud. They pretend to be people to get information on people exposing Scientology. I know this is probably not massively shocking, you guys, but for some of you, it might be this is Scientology. This is the Church of Scientology. Educating C organization members in the Office of Special Affairs how to call and pretend to be somebody to go and get some information on them and find out where they last were. It's scary. Robin Miners, good to see you. I love spending my morning with this coffee group. Nat, spilling the tea is the best morning activity. I love it. Thank you. And I'm so glad that you're here. Mad Drop Bear says, great. Now I can never watch Risky Business the same again. Anna Christie, I always thought Tom Cruise was a douche. I love that, Anna. The men have to wear their aloha shirts and the women should be wearing their muumuus. I wish I was wearing a muumuu right now. I'm wearing pants, like real pants. I'm not in pajamas today. Shout out to anyone still in their PJs this Friday morning. I support that. One in the chat if you're in your PJs. I know a few of you are, and I'm here for it. I think I'm all for it. Nancy's in her pajamas. Okay, so now let's go back to this here. There's something else in here. So we got that. This is how they find your flight info. There's just a treasure trove of information here on, like when they were working on data needed on a psychiatrist. This has to do with the Citizens Commission on Human Rights. And when they were exposing abuses by psychiatrists. And you know what? Like, fine. If that's true, then it should be exposed. But Scientology uses that to say all psychiatrists are doing this. All psychologists, you see? You might have a couple who, they're committing abuses. Yeah, they're doing things they shouldn't be doing. But it's not all. This is part of how they turn Scientologists off to psychiatry and make them so afraid of it. So afraid of it. Lori says, I don't leave my room until I'm dressed. Really? In regular clothes? Like, that's interesting, Lori. I like that. Pants versus muumuus. Pants don't have a chance. Abigail, thank you. Office of Special Affairs. Feel free to contact the SPTV Foundation to help you escape. With SPs having such incriminating documents, you have to know you're going downhill. Yes, we can definitely help you once you make the decision that you want to leave and leave. And this data, this information, these continued leaks that come out, that have come out over the years, some of them we're revisiting them because many do not know about this, but it really helps you understand more too, the insidious nature of Scientology and what the Office of Special Affairs actually does, what their purpose is while they're doing it. And they work very isolated. Scientology is very much, especially in the Sea Org, one hand doesn't always know what the other hand is doing. They want to keep you compartmentalized. My sister Lana, who was in the Sea Organization at 14, shared in a video we did not that long ago. You can find it on my channel. Go under live, scroll down till you see Lana's picture. She shared how, like, documents that she found as a teenager about L. Ron Hubbard being on psychiatric drugs. Just there's how they kept people quiet, the intimidation tactics used on Sea Organization members. Jenna Miscavige has talked about it, the interrogations, the lengths that they go to. Mar says, I believe my place of employment would frown upon me wearing PJs to work, or else I would be. Yes. I usually am at least wearing pajama pants, but I have to head out today. And so I'm like, I'm going to put on regular pants. Does it matter to you? Not to me. Comment speaking in generalities. Doesn't that mean something within the tech? That's right. Speaking in generalities, they're not supposed to do. Okay, so Lori says it's shirts, it's t-shirts and shorts. Okay, good, Lori. Because I'm like, are you like really getting dressed around the house? That's old school. I mean, you do you. Yep, Robin Miners, you are not alone. You are not alone. Let's see. Saved by Grace. Thank you so much for the super chat. I really enjoy your streams. Been praying for you this past year for strength, and I am so glad to see you smiling. Aloha from Canada. Thank you, Saved by Grace. I appreciate that. All of you with your kind words, your thoughts, your prayers. I appreciate it so much. Thank you. I feel all of that, and I am so glad you're all here helping me get through and show up each day. You guys inspire me. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to catch up. Okay, where are we? Can we talk about a couple things here? Can we talk about these drones over New Jersey? So many of you, well, maybe you do, maybe you don't. Let's look at let's look at a little clip. I think this is from Philip DeFranco. Check this out.
What is going on in New Jersey? These drones just keep flying all over New Jersey and people are losing their minds. State senators are calling for a limited state of emergency. The governor says he's taking it deadly serious.
These are really big drones. These aren't just, tiny drones. They're supposed to be maybe the size of a car. But they are drones, a small car, maybe a small car. But I'm dying to know what your theories are on this. I'll tell you mine. Personally, I mean, it's a drone. I don't think that it's alien craft. I don't think that it is Xenu making a return, though I did think about it, paralyzed to paralyzed, because usually unidentified flying craft like that does not seem to be of this world, does not have lights on it. Doesn't have lights on it. 6 foot or bigger. That is huge. That's big. And they're just over there just doing this. And then you look more into it and you find out oh yeah, this has been happening in other places too. So who is it and what are they doing? Now, personally, Asen says, were they searching for Luigi? No, this is separate from that. Absolutely separate from that. But what do you guys think is going on here? Why? Because I don't think I don't think it's otherworldly because of the lights and stuff. And they obviously look like a drone, but you can't hear them. They're very large. Here's what I don't get. Why is it's just happening? You know what I'm saying? I feel like there's so many things that in the world or even the United States where oh yeah, there's these unknown drones. Remember the balloons that were flying over the United States, and then some of them got shut down. Some of them didn't. Something got shut down, and then it disappeared, and then we never heard about it again. So first thing I was thinking is it Xenu? Is Xenu back, and is he now doing drones? What's the deal? And I'm like, no. Karen says we see them over the Missouri River by the Air Force Base. Now, me, personally, I think it's some other government or our own government just trying out drones. But why, if it's not our government, like, why are they just like letting this happen unless it belongs to us? Jolie, they're ours. Government is going to fake an invasion to declare martial law. Yes, I'm paranoid. Girl, I am right there with you. I would not put it past. Having gone through 35 years in a human trafficking cult and learning like what people are really capable of and what can be kept secret for a long time. Yeah, I think so too. I think so too. Anna says, yeah, let's talk about those drones. Isn't that the craziest? Yeah. The Dream Time says government is testing new drones. But then why not just say, oh, you know what? That was us. We're testing new drones. Because these mayors, you know, they want to declare a state of emergency. I mean, a lot of things go along with declaring a state of an emergency. So is it being created or is it actually necessary? Marcy says, so crazy. Last article I read was that they were all flying legally. But then if they were flying legally, why do you have all these mayors going like, what is this? Desert Dog, what are they flying over? I have questions. So a lot of people are saying they're flying over military installations. Florence says some believe it's a projected hologram. Chinese weather balloons. Yeah, that's what we were told about the other balloons. They sound like a small plane, but apparently they're not making any sound. That's the thing. You know what? Where's Jersey Jan? Is she here? Oh, you are. Jersey Jan. What do you think? Because you're there. I can't find any explanation online of these. Cece says it's the government or another company. Ask Elon. Yeah, could be. Could be. It's just weird to me. Anna says drones appeared in different places over the last month. Yeah. Asen says it is the government and they don't tell the public everything. Yeah, could be. I mean, to me, that's what makes the most logical sense. That's what I think. That's what I think is happening. Because I feel like if it was another outside, you know, a different country, that they wouldn't just be so willy-nilly letting it happen. I would like to think. I don't know. But your guys' thoughts on this are very interesting. So I appreciate it. I appreciate you chiming in. I appreciate it when you guys hit like, hit subscribe. I don't know what's happening today. I think I might do another video. I got to move a few things around. I got some stuff happening and going on and some other stories I want to share that we didn't even have time for here. So we'll see. So set that notification bell to all because I might jump on last minute. In the meantime, you guys get out and have an amazing cult-free Aloha Friday.